Welcome back, everyone. We're back again, looking at the new UA Unearthed Arcana subclasses. They recently released, I believe it was last Friday. Would have done it over the weekend or released earlier in the week, but if any of you watched my latest episode of Football Manager Boston Ended or Journey Through Premier League Football and Beyond, I ended up getting food poisoning last week. It lasted pretty much the entirety of the week. I only started feeling better around Saturday. Nightmare of a week. So I had some videos out last week, but they were like pre-recorded ones that I had stockpiled on up a bit. But so let's get into it. There's three subclasses in this one for the fighter, ranger, and rogue. We have the Rune Knight for the fighter, the Swarmkeeper for the ranger, and the revived the rogue. So as per usual, this is all just playtest material. You can't use it in Adventures League if you guys playing that, but as per usual, you're allowed to please feel free to use it in your home games and whatnot, or modify it as you see fit, because always these things are playtest and they're not technically official until they get released in their next book that they put out, which probably won't be for, I'd say, another year or two. I'm not sure how long 5e is going to go for it, but I imagine they're going to get their money's worth out of it, considering the time period between 4th and 5th. Was it 4th was 2008, so 6 years, and we're currently in year 5 of 5e. But I think 5th edition will probably, I'd say we have at least another 5 years of it, because they're not going to want to screw with the boat too much, so to speak. But that's beyond the point. Let's get into it. So at 3rd level with the fighter, you gain the Martial Archetype feature. This is a playtest option for that feature, the Rune Knight. Rune Knight, you discovered how to enhance your martial prowess using the supernatural powers of runes. The ancient practice of rune magic originated with giants. Skiltgraver rune cutters can be found among any type of giants, and you likely learned your methods first or second hand from such a mystical artisan. Whether you found the giants were carved into a hill or cave, learned of the runes from a traveling sage, or met the giant in person, you studied the giant's craft. In time, you learned how to carve and apply runes to your equipment and how to invoke their magic, ultimately becoming a Rune Knight. Bonus proficiencies. At 3rd level, you gain proficiency with smith's tools, and you learn to speak, read, and write giant. Okay. I don't know. I'm not sure how I feel about that. Learning languages. I suppose you learn languages when you level up and stuff, and you can get them through other features, so I suppose that can be okay. I just think it's kind of weird to get him at a level, but that's just me. Rune magic, 3rd level, Rune Knight feature. You learn how to use runes to enhance your gear. When you gain this feature, you learn how to inscribe 2 runes of your choice on weapons, armor, or shields. See rune options. Whenever you finish a long rest, you can touch a number of objects equal to your number of runes you know and inscribe a different rune onto each of the objects. To be eligible, an object must be a weapon, suit of armor, or shield. Wonder, does a suit of armor constitute as like light armors, or does it have to be like heavy, medium, or medium plus armors? Your rune remains on an object until you finish a long rest, and an object can bear only one of your runes. Each time you gain a level in this class, you can replace one rune you know with a different one. Rune options. Here are a few runes from rune magic feature. They are all magical effects. If a rune requires a saving throw, your rune magic save DC equals 8 plus your proficiency bonus plus your intelligence modifier. That kind of sucks. You kind of maybe think like the power of that your body can increase throughout its runes. I don't know. I would rather not being an intelligence, maybe being a strength save or constitution save. Just because, like, I don't know, like you're hardy, your powers are gained from giants, so so the ability of their strength and how you can apply them depends on your physicality, that you're able to physically withhold this magic in your body. That could be a cool little thing. So we have Haug, which is Hill Rune. The rune's magic bestows a resilience reminiscent of a hill giant. While wearing or carrying an object inscribed with this rune, you have advantage on saving throws against being poisoned, and you have resistance against poison damage. In addition, you can invoke the rune as a bonus action, gaining resistance to bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing damage for 1 minute. Once you invoke this rune, you can't do so again until you finish a short or long rest. Eld, Fire Rune. This rune's magic channels the masterful craftsmanship of fire giant smiths. While wearing or carrying an object inscribed with this rune, your proficiency bonus is doubled for an ability check you make that uses your proficiency with a tool. In addition, when you hit a creature with a weapon attack, you can invoke the rune to summon fiery shackles. The target must succeed on a strength saving throw, be restrained for 1 minute. While restrained by shackles, the target takes 2d6 fire damage at the start of each of its turns. The target can repeat the saving throw at the end of each of its turns, banishing the shackles on a success. Once you invoke the rune, you can't do so until you finish a short or long rest. Yeah, that's kind of what's annoying me, because like a strength saving throw, more than likely if you're going up attacking someone, they're going to be physically hardy enough that their strength's going to be good. So you'd want your DC to be a tiny bit higher, because like if you're going intelligence, like you'd go for the what's the fighter that uses magic? I forget, but because they get cantrips and stuff, so that makes sense for them having their intelligence modifier be part of their DC. But I would honestly do like strength or con. That would be one thing I would tweak. So I think because you're going into physical combat, so you want your physical might to overpower them. It's probably not going to be too crazy, but sure, like even if you're what do you call it? Because it's going to be 8 plus your proficiency bonus, so you're level 3. So even if you have like 20 strength, it's 5 plus 3 plus 8, so it's 16. So it's not too crazy. And more than likely, most people have advantage on strength saving throws if they're going into combat in that regards. Then we have Ice or Ys, Frost Rune. This rune's magic evokes Frost Giant Stoic Calm. I want to say claim there. While wearing or carrying an object inscribed with this rune, you have advantage on Wisdom, Animal Handling checks, and Charisma Intimidation checks. In addition, you can invoke the rune as a bonus action to increase your strength score by 2 for 10 minutes. This increase can cause your score to exceed 20, but not 30. Once you invoke the rune, you can't do so again until you finish a short or a long rest. It's kind of cool. Ski, whatever. Cloud Rune. This rune's magic emulates the deceptiveness of a cloud giant. While wearing or carrying an object inscribed with this rune, you have advantage on dexterity, sleight of hand checks, and charisma deception checks. In addition, when you or a creature you can see within 30 feet of you is hit by an attack roll, you can use your reaction to invoke the rune and cause that attack to target a different creature within 30 feet of you, other than the attacker, using the same roll. This magic can transfer the attack regardless of the attack's range. Once you invoke the rune, you can't do so until you finish a short or long rest. Stein, Stone Rune. This rune's magic channels the insightfulness of a stone giant. While wearing or carrying an object inscribed with this rune, you have advantage on Wisdom's insight checks, and you have dark vision out to a range of 60 feet. If you already have dark vision, this range increases by 30. In addition, when a creature you can see ends its turn within 30 feet of you, you can use your reaction to invoke the rune and force the creature to make a wisdom saving throw. Unless the save succeeds, the creature is charmed by you for 1 minute. While charmed in this way, the creature has a speed of 0 and is incapacitated, descending into a dreamy stupor. The effect ends if the charmed creature takes any damage or if someone else uses an action to shake the creature out of its haze. Once you invoke the rune, you can't do so until you finish a short or long rest. Uvar, Storm Rune. Using this rune, you can glimpse the future like a storm giant. While wearing or carrying an object inscribed with this rune, you have advantage on intelligence checks or Arcana checks, and you can't be surprised as long as you aren't incapacitated. In addition, you can invoke this rune as a bonus action to enter a prophetic state for 1 minute or until you're incapacitated. Until the state ends, when you or another creature you can see within 60 feet of you makes an attack roll, a saving throw, and ability check, you can use your reaction to cause the roll to have advantage or disadvantage. Once you invoke the rune, you can't do so again until you finish a short or long rest. Okay, that's kind of interesting. I don't know. I think some of these are it's a bit reactionary to my liking. And they're very limited in what they can do. I suppose that's the case when you're at 3rd level, so there is that limitations to it. Still, you think maybe they could be permanent, like rather than having to change them or activate them every day. I would think like, oh yeah, you get 2 runes, and then at another level you get another one and another one and another one, but like they become permanent until like and then they just reactivate on every day, not rather than having to redraw them and design them and whatnot. I would just rather having like, oh yeah, you pick 2 runes, and then those are permanently on your armor, or you can transfer them across. But those 2 runes, or even maybe you could say like you inscribe them into your body, and the magic imbues into your armor, or your shields, or weapons, or whatnot. I don't know. Giant Might. 3rd level, another Rune Knight feature. You can imbue yourself with the Might of Giants. As a bonus action, you magically gain the following benefits, which last for 1 minute. If you are smaller than large, you become large along with anything you are wearing. If you lack the room to become large, your size doesn't change. You have advantage on strength checks and strength saving throws. Your weapon attacks deal an extra 1d6 damage. You can use this feature twice, and you regain all expended use of it when you finish a long rest. Defensive runes. You get this at 7th level. You learn to invoke your rune magic to protect your allies. When another creature you can see within 60 feet of you is hit by an attack roll, you can use your reaction to grant a bonus to the creature's AC against that attack. The bonus equals 1 plus your intelligence modifier, minimum +2. Yeah. Wait, what? The bonus equals 1 plus... Oh, okay. I was reading that as your proficiency bonus for whatever reason. I was like, the minimum is 2 anyways. In addition, you learn 1 new rune of your choice from the rune magic feature for a total of 3. Great stature. The magic of your runes permanently alters you. When you gain this feature, roll 3d4. You grow a number of inches in height equal to the roll. Moreover, the extra damage you deal with your Giant Might feature increases to 1d8. In addition, you learn 1 new rune of your choice from your rune magic feature for a total of 4. Rune magic mastery. You can invoke each rune you know from your rune magic feature twice rather than once, and you regain all expended uses when you finish a short or long rest. In addition, you learn 1 new rune of your choice from the rune magic feature for a total of 5. How many is there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so you have to lock out with 1. In that case, I'd say you probably just sawed off having the heal rune, because you could just easily get that, or maybe choose yourself as a hill dwarf or stone dwarf, whichever one, or mountain dwarf, whichever one that gives you resistance or immunity to poison, and then maybe a level or 2 in barbarian, and you get the same thing. So that'd be my advice. So you can essentially get all 6 by just taking a tiny dip. And then we have the Ranger Archetype. 3rd level, a Ranger gains the Ranger Archetype feature. Here's the playtest option for that feature. The Swarmkeeper. Feeling a deep connection to the world around them, some Rangers reach out through their magical connection to nature and gather a host of fey spirits, which take the form of swarming beasts. Be they buzzing insects, fluttering birds, slippery squids, or otherwise, the swarm becomes a potent force in battle, as well as helpful, if potentially disturbing, company for the ranger. Some swarm keepers are outcasts or hermits, seeking or keeping to themselves and their attendant swarms rather than dealing with the discomfort of others. Other swarm keepers enjoy building vibrant communities that work for their mutual benefit of all those they consider part of their swarm. Okay. Bit of an interesting one. Suppose you could maybe decide how you wanted to flavor text it. So like ants, hummingbirds would be interesting. Squids. I suppose if you're in a aquatic setting. But when I think of like kind of like loads of packs or like swarms of stuff, I would think fish and stuff before I would think of squid. I would have thought squid would be fairly solitary to an extent. Swarmkeeper magic, 3rd level. You learn the mage hand cantrip if you don't already know it. When you cast it, the hand takes the form of a swarming nature spirits. You also learn an additional spell when you reach certain levels in this class, as shown in the Swarmkeeper spells tables. These spells count as ranger spells for you, but you don't count against the number of spells you know. Ooh, so 3rd level you get Fairy Fire, which is great. 5th you get Web. 9th Gaseous Form. 13th Giant Insect, and 17th Insect Plague. That's pretty cool. Fairy Fire is a very good spell. Gathered Swarm, 3rd and 11th Swarmkeeper feature. You magically attack a swarm of fey spirits that look like tiny beasts of your choice. The swarm remains in your space, crawling on you or through your clothing or flying, and skittering immediately around you within your space. As a bonus action, you can agitate the swarm for 1 minute for the duration. Some of the swarm clings to your weapon or follows your strikes when you attack. Once during each of your turns, when you hit a creature with a weapon attack, you can deal an extra 1d6 force damage to that creature, and the swarm moves the creature up to 5 feet towards you or away from you. Your choice. At 11th, the extra damage increases to 2d6. You can use this feature a number of times equal to your wisdom modifier, a minimum of once, and you regain all expended uses when you finish a long rest. Okay, that's kind of interesting. Withering Tide. You can condense part of your swarm into a focus mass that lifts or sweeps you along. Whenever you activate your Gathered Swarm feature, choose one of the following benefits. Your walking speed increases by 10 feet, and you can take the disengage action as a bonus action. You gain a climb speed equal to your walking speed. You can climb difficult surfaces, including upside down on ceilings, without making an ability check. Wow. You gain a flying speed of 10 feet and can hover. That is very handy. Ooh. I would say the walking on ceilings would probably be very handy, especially if maybe you're going to take a dip into something or have like a ring of invisibility. That'd be very handy. To disengage, you could maybe take a dip into Rogue to get that. And flying, you could get a cloak of flying or something, or get some custom made. But I think if I was to choose it, I would go for the walking speed. The climb, and then you can climb on difficult surfaces, including upside down ceilings. Like imagine just walking like along a cliffside and just walking along and like no one would see you coming. And if you have a ring of invisibility, you would be absolutely gone. Scuttling Eyes. As an action, you can magically form one of the spirits of your swarm into the shape of a tiny beast of your choice. The transformation lasts for 1 hour, at which point the spirit disappears. For the duration, the spirit has a speed of 40 feet, which it can use to walk, climb, fly, or swim. The spirit has your senses and telepathically relays what it can sees and hears. During your turn, you can speak through the spirit, telepathically command it to move, and it can hide using your bonus to dexterity. Stealth checks. The spirit has an AC of 18. If it takes damage, you must succeed on a wisdom saving throw, DC equal to 10 or half the damage dealt, whichever is higher, or the spirit disappears. As an action, you can dismiss the spirit entirely or early. If you do, you can magically teleport to an unoccupied space within 5 feet of where the spirit disappeared. Once you use this feature, you can't do so again until you finish a long rest. You can also use it again by expending a spell slot of 3rd level or higher. That's actually kind of cool. Does it say how far it can go? Or is it, okay. It's very similar to, Find Familiar, where you can summon something and you can see through it. But I believe Find Familiar has it as a range of a couple hundred feet that you can see to. But looking at this, it doesn't seem like there's a range on it, which is very handy. And the fact that you can teleport to it. Obviously, there's the damage, and it has a very high AC and dexterity, so you can make it something cool, like maybe a spider or something, and just have it like crawling along or hanging on someone's belongings, listening in as a subterfuge kind of thing. This as much as it is a ranger, I see this class much more as a rogue of sorts. Storm of Minions. Your swarm can expel a seething storm of spirits that drain life from others. As an action, you create a magical sphere filled with an enraged swarm centered on a point you can see within 120 feet of you. The sphere has a 10-foot radius and lasts for 1 minute. The sphere is difficult terrain for creatures other than you. A creature other than you starts its turn in the sphere's area that must make a Constitution saving throw against your spell save DC. On a failed save, the creature takes 2d8 necrotic damage and is blinded until the start of its next turn. On a successful save, it takes half damage as much and isn't blinded. At the start of your turn, if any number of small or large creatures took necrotic damage from the swarm, you regain 1d8 hit points. On subsequent turns, you can use a bonus action to move the sphere up to 30 feet. When you activate this feature, you can choose any number of creatures you can see to be unaffected by it. Once you use this feature, you can't do so again until you finish a long rest. That is powerful. Very, very powerful. Because technically this isn't technically it's not a spell. It lasts for 1 minute, it's difficult terrain. Yeah, it's not a spell. It's just an AoE effect, and it just happens. And the fact that you can choose who it's going to happen to is really great. And you can choose if you don't want them to tap into them. So like, for example, you could use it on, for example, the big bad evil guy. Pop it on him, and if they can only move 30 feet, or if you put it on them and it's considered difficult terrain, they're going to be spending half their movement trying to get out of it. You get your colleagues, your teammates in alongside them, slashing them up. Stuff like that. That'd be actually very potent. Honestly, this is not a ranger class. This is a rogue. Or even some sort of hybrid with a wizard. It's still really good. Once you use this feature, you can't do so again until you finish a long rest. You can also use it again by spending a spell slot of 4th level or higher. So technically, first time is a feature, second time is a spell. But even then, I don't think it is a spell. I wouldn't count it as a spell based on this because you're not casting it. Well, second time you are, but still. That is very interesting. Very surprising. That's probably my favorite out of the bunch of the bloody subclasses, UA subclasses. Okay, now we have the rogue, apparently, even though we just had the rogue, arguably. So the Roguish Archetype, a 3rd level of rogue gains Roguish Archetype playtest options feature the revive. You've had a soul-shaking realization. You've been dead before, yet somehow you are alive again. This isn't your first. It might not even be your second, but your past life or lives are unclear to you, but you know that you passed through the gates of death and the powers of death, or some other influence wasn't done with you. You might have convinced a deity to let you return to the material plane, or perhaps you signed a deal with the fiend, or maybe used an artifact that revived you. Whatever force brought you back, you now know the truth about yourself, that you are one of the death's representatives among the living. Or you believe in reincarnation. Tokens of past lives. You remember you had in your previous life when you finish a long rest. You remember talents you had in your previous life. Whenever you finish a long rest, you gain 1 skill or tool proficiency of your choice. You can replace this. That's stupid. You can replace this proficiency with another when you finish a long rest. I would say that you get one at 3rd level and you just add it on. You can get anything. I wouldn't be constantly fucking changing. That would be kind of annoying. That seems kind of dumb. That's another thing. I don't like that. I want a permanent thing. It's like, yeah, you've relived multiple lives, but like we're not saying that you lived like fucking 600 lives or something. You could have, but like I would do one. And maybe like if you go further, that you've gone through your psyche further and you realize, oh shit, I've actually I've lived like 6 or 7 generations, so I get 6 or 7 features similar to this. But I wouldn't just go like, oh yeah, I've had 6,000 lives, so every other day I'm just gonna go bing bang boom bang 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 bang. That kind of annoys me. I would just want one. I like permanency of it. A revived nature. Your newfound connection to death gives you the following benefits. You have advantage on saving throws against disease and being poisoned, and you have resistance to poison damage. You do not need to eat, drink, or breathe. You don't need to sleep. When you take a long rest, you must spend at least 4 hours in an inactive, motionless state. Rather than sleeping, in this state you remain semi-conscious and you can hear as normal. Okay. Bolts from the grave. You have learned to unleash bolts of necrotic energy from within your revived body. Immediately after you use your cunning action, you can make your ranged spell attack against a creature within 30 feet of you, provided you haven't used your sneak attack this turn. You aren't proficient with it, and you add your dexterity modifier to its attack. Dexterity modifier to its attack and damage rolls. A creature hit by this attack takes necrotic damage equal to your sneak attack. This uses your sneak attack for this turn. Oh, you are proficient, but I didn't read that. Damn. That's actually kind of cool. Although I do prefer the just getting up beside someone and just stabbing them. I suppose you could actually go in for an attack, stab, miss, use your cunning action to step away, and then hit them with the necrotic spell to deal your sneak attack damage. That would actually be a very handy feature, especially if you want to get it off that turn. Connect with the dead. You can create a link with a spirit through their corpse. When you do so, you cast the Speak with Dead spell without using a spell slot or material components. Intelligence is your spellcasting ability for this. Speaking with the dead in a way temporarily gives you a capability from a past life. You're unsure whether it's from your past or the spirits. When the spell ends, you gain 1 round of benefit from the revive capability stable. The benefit lasts until you finish a short or long rest. You learn how to speak, read, and write 1 language of your choice. You gain 1 skill or tool proficiency of your choice. You gain proficiency with 1 saving throw of your choice. See, like, I don't mind this too much because you're not going to use this every bloody day unless you're in a bloody fucking graveyard or something. You're just going like, hey, I want to talk to you. Like, give me some abilities. Boom, boom, boom. Like, because you're kind of already getting these with the other feature where it's just constantly in flux. So that kind of annoys me. After you cast a spell with this feature, you can't do so until you finish a short or long rest. Audience with death. When at death's door, you can converse with the powers of death. You have advantage on death saving throws, and whenever you make a death saving throw, your spirit can ask an entity a question that can be answered with yes or no or unknown. The entity answers truthfully using the knowledge of all those who have died. Okay, that's kind of OP. You have advantage on death saving throws, and whenever you make a death saving throw, your spirit can ask an entity a question that can be answered with a yes, no, or unknown. More than likely, you're going to make all your saves because they're all going to be at advantage. So it's kind of against the purpose of it. And you could go like to your colleagues, like, oh yeah, just let me lie down here. I'm going to ask the DM the questions like, where is the necromancer? Because like he's dead. Undead, and like they'll be able to tell, oh yeah, he's like 6 miles to the left past the tree on your right hand side underneath the town, just a little bit past the aboleth, and he's in there, and his what phylactery is in the box behind the bedside table. Some shit like that. That'd be kind of annoying because that's kind of like Wish to an extent, because I suppose it answers yes, no, or unknown. I suppose it's kind of like talking with your deity then, but you could be very specific with it. Because like if you have an idea where it is, like, oh yeah, here, barbarian, come here and choke me out, and then I'll ask my fucking entity if it's in this room, and then I'll get specific before I die. In addition, whenever you have 0 hit points and healed or stabilized, you can change any of your personal characteristics, trait, ideal, bond, or flaw. Jeez, you sound like an... Like, it sounds like it makes you a bit of a schizo. It's like, oh yeah, just like almost die, and I'm just going to have a complete different personality. That would be very annoying for the party. It's like, oh yeah, I trust my friends and this, that, and the other, and it's like, my flaw is that I give my money to charity, and then you almost die, and then it's like, I steal from the poor. Ethereal jaunt. Like a ghost, you have the ability to slip in and out of ethereal plane. You can now use your cunning action to teleport to an unoccupied space within 30 feet of you. You don't need to see that space to teleport to it, but your teleportation fails. You don't need to see that space to teleport to it, but your teleportation fails, wasting your bonus action if you attempt to teleport through magical force that is medium or larger, such as a wall of force. If you appear in an area occupied by another creature or filled by an object, you are immediately shunted to the nearest unoccupied space that you can occupy and take force damage equal to twice the number of feet you are shunted. Okay. That's kind of cool. And then, since it's 30 feet away, then you can use the bolts from the grave feature. I just did sneak attack damage. I don't know. This seems good in certain parts and then very overpowered in others. Like, I don't like this revived nature thing. Is it revived? No, I like this. Is not too bad. I don't get the revived nature where it's like, oh yeah, you have a connection with death. That makes you a robot, essentially. I kind of like you don't need to sleep, but like if you're an elf, it doesn't really affect you. I don't know. I don't like the tokens of past lives. I would make that a permanency thing and maybe give that at like 10th and then 16th or 17th level that you get extra. So like they just become permanency. So they don't just go like, oh yeah, let's have a nap and I'll be able to do this skill then. Or I'll be a proficient welder or blacksmith or whatever. I would like permanencies, like you just become more developed over time. That's like, okay, yeah, at level 3, okay, oh yeah, I realized back in like when my first life, I was a blacksmith. Level 10, I've further gone through my mind's eye and realized I've lived 6 lives. And in one of them, I was an accomplished cobbler. So now I can make shoes. And then at 15th or 16th level, it's like, oh, I've gone even further back. And back in my first life, my original life, I believe, I was a master, I don't know, guitar player. And now I can play the guitar. Just randomly pulling it out of his ass. But like I like how it's more permanent that way rather than going like, I'll wake up, I can play guitar. Next I can play the drums. I can make shoes. I can make a bloody broadsword. And then the following day you can't do any of that shit. So like that would kind of annoy me. As you guys can already tell. But Revived Nature isn't too bad. I think the you don't need to eat, drink, or breathe is a bit overpowered. Because essentially because poison won't have an effect on you. As far as I'm aware, as long as you don't have to breathe, just hold your breath. Unless maybe like it affects your molecules and shit. But then even then you have resistance. And then you have, what do you call it? Uncanny Dodge and the thing that halves it. I forget what it's called. You don't need to sleep. Again, that doesn't seem like a revived thing. If I was to do it, I would say that since you've been revived, you've been touched by death, that maybe if there's undead around you, you're the focal point of their attacks, maybe, or like if an undead is near you, any attacks that are within 30 feet of you are at disadvantage unless it's targeted to you. That'd be something I would say, like, oh yeah, like this is a bonus, like you've been brought back to life, you should be dead, like death wants to bring you back to their realm, like something like that. That'd be cool. But you get some bonuses out of it, like the saving throws against disease and being poisoned, which you don't really get either. Like that seems kind of paladin-y for me. Like it's like what to say? Wasn't done. You may have convinced a deity to let you return to the material plane, sign a deal with the fiend, or use an artifact that revived you. That doesn't seem very holy, in all honesty. Like against disease, it's like, oh yeah, I cheated death. Now I'm immortal. Essentially, I don't need to sleep. I would say like you're cursed to an extent. Like you're marked for death. Or maybe you have holy creatures that come after you because you should be dead. You should be up above or down below or somewhere in between. Like you should not be here. Like you are a blip. And every day that you're here longer, maybe there's something big bad that will come along. Or maybe like you can make an apocalyptic that if you were revived by a fiend, or maybe make something like a pact, like a warlock, but you pick deity, item, or deity, fiend, or item, and depending on what you choose. So if you choose a deity, the undead come after you because you've been marked as a holy creature or whatever. Fiend, you're wanted by magical beings such as angels, whatnot, pure things, or paladins that come after you and try to kill you because you are marked by this evil being. And if you have a holy item, you're maybe after attacked by cultists that want the item for their holy relic. That's their thing, and you maybe it's internalized in you, or maybe you become the source of its power, or maybe if you die, the thing will come out of you, or there'll be a hint of having how to solve it. I can't remember what's the demon thing from Critical Role, the big bull thing, and there was one of the one of the vestiges that was inside it. Maybe you could be like, maybe the vestige is actually inside you, but it can only be awakened once you're dead. One of those kind of things. Something like that. That'd be kind of cool. and maybe depending on how it goes, and you can make it some lore thing for the DM, or it kind of sorts the story out. I don't know, something like that would be cool for the DM to do, or maybe give you some feature like you are vulnerable to radiant damage, vulnerable to necrotics, something like that. That'd be cool. Because like if you're alive and you're getting all these features, you need some detriments, because at the moment all I see are bonuses, and being able to like copy and change whatever features you want based on what you need. I don't know. It seems it's very holy for my liking, and like it seems very unnatural, which is kind of what's annoying me. Like it seems like the perfect basis for a necromancer. So like you don't need to eat, drink, or breathe. You don't need to sleep. Token of past lives, so you can do proficiency whenever you want, or something. Bolts from the grave, so you get that. Like, I don't know. I would think this is more like it's very beneficial than detrimental, because like being undead to an extent should be something evil. I don't know. That's just me. That's my opinions. I'd like to hear what you guys think on it. I know I've been ranting and raving on it, but anyways, thanks everyone for watching. Please leave some comments below what you guys think. Would you use this in your games and whatnot? But yeah, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.